That's coming up. Hey, and we're good. We got Chuck Young, the Destroyer, here. Finally meeting with the Destroyer. And Cody?
Hey, I'm just here to have fun.
It's good to see you here, my man. Thanks for coming over here on this early morning. Thank you, Chuck, for coming out here to Big Fat Studios, my man. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing good. I'm excited to be here. Come to do this is awesome. Just being here with you guys is cool.
Well, cool, man. Well, thank you so much. I know you're a busy guy. We're all busy guys. We all have real jobs out there and all that kind of stuff. So I appreciate you guys coming in here and talking with us. Man, I have been wanting to talk with you for a long time. Connor came back on the truck one time and he was like, there's this big dude who keeps coming to the food truck.
He did, actually.
And he's like, he calls himself the Destroyer. And he's like, hey, we got to do something together, you know, and something else. I can't remember the whole story. I wish Connor was here because it would be a good story. And I was like, what? And he's like, yeah, man, he's like a professional arm wrestler. And I'm like, really? And he's coming to the truck and he's like, yeah, loves our burritos. He's super nice guy. I'm like, really? And he's like, so is he on YouTube or something? So we pull you up on YouTube. And the very first video we find is, I want to say 9-10 years ago.
Yeah.
It was Chuck Young comes on the scene. I should have sent this to you, Cody.
I watched it. I watched it.
The one where he's in the bar, where you're in the bar. I love this video.
Oh, man, it's crazy, too.
So tell me about this, man. How did you get into arm wrestling, and how did you go in there with so much confidence? And tell me what's going on.
So it's so crazy. You'd think someone would like Google it and, find out about arm wrestling. Oh, not me. I was at this bar shooting a pool tournament. And this big guy just walks by me, just a monster guy, and he's got this arm wrestling shirt on, and I look at him, I go up to him, I'm like, dude, you arm wrestle? He's like, yeah, I'm a professional. I'm like, well, dude, I'll rip your arm off. And he's just like, hey, and we really didn't hit it off very good in the very beginning, but it was fun.
You told him you'll rip his arm
off.
off.
I told him, yeah, and then...
It's never a good way to start with somebody that's that way, right?
It wasn't good. But anyway, I go back up to him, I'm like, listen, didn't mean to come across crazy, but... I really love arm wrestling, and how can I get into it? And he was like all cool, and he's like telling me, and I'm like, God, I'll bet money or whatever. And he's like, well, you should get a hold of this guy, Bill Collins. And it's kind of like the Dana White, UFC Dana White. Basically, I called Bill Collins, the main promoter for UAL, and so I call him up and. I'm like, hey, I'm Chuck Young, and I want to, start arm wrestling and whatever, and, maybe you could set me up with a super match and everything. And he's like, super match? And he's like holding this phone out like, who is this guy, And I'm just like, yeah, no one could beat me, and no one could even move my arm. And he knew I was like completely crazy, right? And,
no one could move my arm.
No one can do
nobody could pin my arm, right? So next thing you know, I start talking to him, and he's like, yeah, well, maybe I could set you up a super match. I'm like, well, do it. I go, I'll bet any amount of money, and so he really didn't take me seriously. And then a couple weeks later, I was like, he didn't call me. And so I call him up, and I got all kind of like in his face, and I was like, on the phone, I'm like, I go, are you the real deal, or is this a joke? And he's like, he just got, he got totally, and he's like, listen, you really serious here? He goes, what do you want me to do? Set you up with a super match? I'm like, yeah. How much? What are you talking? 20 grand? What do you want to do? You know what I mean? And he's just thinking, what is going on with this guy? And I look back at it now, it's just crazy. I mean, it is crazy. But
so what's a super match?
So a super match is like one-on-one, the best of 6, so you get up there against a certain guy for a certain amount of money or whatever, and it's a one-on-one super match. So absolutely had no idea what I was getting into, like at all.
But you're talking.
I didn't even know. Yeah, and I didn't even know there was an arm wrestling table. I didn't even know any of this. Like totally clueless. So I literally, he sets me up with a super match, and he didn't think I was going to show up, right? So I fly to California to arm wrestle Luke Kent. And this guy's 165 pounds, 5th in the world. He's awesome, right? And I show up to this bar, this big, huge event, massive event. And the movie Over the Top?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay. So Cobra Rhodes and Alan Fisher were in that movie, and they are having a super match, right? Well, the whole word gets out that Chuck Young is showing up here and blah blah blah, and I was definitely the talk of the situation here.
Oh, you can tell in that video.
It's so bad. It's so bad. I mean, and I show up there and I'm thinking, I could freaking kick anybody's butt here. You know what I'm saying? And I didn't know that they were all arm wrestlers. The whole place was packed
with arm wrestlers.
The whole place of everybody. Right?
Oh my God!
And here comes Chuck out of the gate. You know what I mean? Like, you can't move me.
So at this point, you just like to arm wrestle.
Oh, I just loved it. Yeah. Totally had no idea what I was getting into, like none whatsoever. So it was like, and that's why it's so funny, because here I do show up like, you can't move my arm, and
it had to be the most epic entrance.
Yeah. Oh, it is. It's literally like
someday.
Yeah.
Someday there's going to be a Destroyer movie, and there's going to be, I don't know who's going to play that part right there. But.
Over the top Destroyer.
Oh, yeah.
So how much money was on the line? Like, how much did you have to put up?
So it was only $1,000.
Did you really bring it expecting to drop $20,000?
Honestly, I mean,
you brought it.
No, I didn't bring it. But I mean, he's like saying it's $1,000, and at the right when it was all happening, I was even made a funnier, crazier move. So I went up to the main guy. I said, "Hey, here's another 1,000." You know what I mean? On myself, and. Anyway, yeah, it was. I definitely, made a stage. You know what I mean? Just coming up there, but yeah, it was crazy.
Oh, I thought it was epic. Connor and I are in the food trailer, and we're like, "This is the guy," and he's like, "Yeah, that's the guy." And I was like,
"It's not the same. It's not the same meeting him."
No, I got to meet this guy. And anyway, so we were super pumped about that, and I've been wanting to get. To me, I was like, this guy. I tell everybody when I talk about you, I'm like, this guy is the Conor McGregor of arm wrestling. That's how I relate to you. I'm like, I don't know anything about arm wrestling. Right. I mean, I've been watching videos. Now I'm curious though. I'm watching stuff, you know? And, but that's what you bring to it is you make it interesting. That's what Conor McGregor does. Like Conor McGregor, he doesn't win every match, but if you talk UFC with anybody, who does everybody know? They all know his name.
Right.
And that's Chuck Young. Like, he comes on the scene and blows it up. I mean, to me, it seems like you get, I don't know, you get the attention side of it. And just like these guys do. Like,
the show,
this is the show.
Right.
And you make the show interesting. I mean, that all brings a whole dynamic in there.
Yeah, now I look back at it, how it happened, years ago, and I think it's just totally funny, but it's my story, you know what I mean? And
it's awesome.
Everybody loved me for it because I didn't give up. They said, "You'll never see this guy again."
I saw that, and they were like,
"You'll never see him again," you know what I mean? And here I am. I start going to all the, I loved it so much, and I just started flying to all these tournaments. I mean, who would go all the way to Florida for a tournament for $250? Here I am. I show up. I fly all the way out there, and I show up to these tournaments, and so I got a lot of respect for never giving up.
Yeah.
So,
oh, I bet.
Yeah.
I did see that in that video. There's just like, guys like this come and go all the time, but
right.
And but then there's just a whole career of it after that. There's so many more videos, and I'm like, man, he's stuck with it, and that is really awesome. Where did it go from there? Like you started traveling and everything else, but where did it go from there? Like how much? I have no clue how often these tournaments are,
right,
or where they are.
I was thinking, how many do you set a goal like 5 a year, 10 a year?
So really, like now it's like once a month. Every month or 2 months, I'll go to a tournament. It all depends. I've backed off a lot now. Not as much as I was, going before. I was doing a lot of tournaments, but in the beginning, I was going to a tournament every weekend, every 2 weeks. Like I was going everywhere, and it was pretty intense.
So how long did it take to get sponsorships? Like, because you spend some money flying for $250. You're really doing it for the fun of it.
It was all for fun, and it was such a blessing. I just basically, I was the marketing director for the monster truck, the Destroyer. And so it was that's how I got the name. And so at the time I was traveling with the monster truck, and I was doing that. And so then I said, you know what? I said, man, I should name myself the Destroyer too. And my buddy Roger's like, yeah, dude. He goes, you got to. He goes, you are the Destroyer. I'm like, yeah, I love it. And people thought I was just nuts, like, you know, because I was like, you know, basically calling myself the Destroyer, and I was, you know, and basically self-promoting myself. And then all of a sudden, I had a car dealership. He's like, man, Chuck, I'll fly you everywhere if you want to go. So I ended up getting sponsors, and that's when I really was making a name for myself, because I was getting all these sponsors, and everyone's like, God, this guy's getting sponsors and doing this, and no one else did. No one else had sponsors or anything like that, and so I was just traveling everywhere, and it was awesome.
No, there's a guy that wrestles. He refs wrestling, which I'm big on the wrestling. Mm-hmm. So I like you like arm wrestling, but
right.
Anyway, he's older now. I would imagine he's in his 60s, but he was. I don't know if he was the Montana State, but I'm sure you know him. But he refs. I don't know his name.
Bear. Yeah.
I mean, he's just a little. I mean, 5'8" probably, or
the Golden Bear.
Yeah.
Yes.
Look, that's cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I know all the guys. So he's a great guy. He goes everywhere.
Does he? Yeah. I know that he used to wear a jacket. So when I was in college, we were doing reffing for the high school wrestling, and he'd wear his jacket around, his arm wrestling jacket.
Oh. And yeah, he's a really great guy. I see them all the time, and we always at the tournaments he'll be there.
How are the other guys all in arm wrestling? Like, what's the community like? Tell us a little bit about that.
So that was another thing. Like, the way I got into arm wrestling, I was thinking, you know, the camaraderie, you guys, of arm wrestling is the best, and you know, and that it's totally threw me off guard. You know, everyone's but friends. They're like family. Like, it's really great. If I said I was going to Florida or whatever, you know, and I put a post, everybody would be like, hey, I'll pick you up and this and that. So it's awesome how everybody is. Because
I'm watching these videos, and I've watched you arm wrestle a lot now. And you're like so intense, man. And you're like, you got this mouth guard, and you're just like, I mean, you look like you're going to tear this guy's arm off, right? And whether you win or lose that little match there, like, you're all of a sudden like instantly like very good with these guys. Like, you're like, like you're patting him on the back, and you're like, yeah, you know, and I'm like, beforehand, like seconds ago, you looked like you're going to tear this guy's arm off.
Destroyer.
He's in destroyer mode.
Yeah.
But so quickly, you're also in good sport mode, and, you know, you guys are hugging each other at the end or anything else. But now I want to know, like, is there anybody who you, like you've run into that you're just like,
no, I don't like that guy.
No, yeah, like that guy. I don't hug that guy afterwards.
No, you know what's so funny? I was in Las Vegas, and I'm gonna arm wrestle Devin Lorette, and he's the world champion. You know, and Devin and I get to arm wrestle him, right?
Yeah.
So I get up there, and I'm on stage, and I'm just all pumped up, and Devin comes up, and he's like, "Oh, the Destroyer." I said, "Yeah." I go, "Dude, I'm gonna rip your arm off, right?" And I'm all, and I mean, honestly, and I get up there left-handed with him, and I am so pumped, and I felt so comfortable, and I literally thought in my mind that I was gonna beat him, right?
Yeah.
Long story short, he flashes me and just smashes me instantly, right? And then my buddy Tom Nelson comes flying up to me, and he's like, Chuck, he goes, man, you are a true champion, man. You are a champion. You know why? Because you honestly believe you're gonna win, like that. Because I was going against him, so he was teasing me, giving me a bad time. But yeah, it's a mindset, you know. And when you go up there, if you act defeated, you already lost. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I've always had conviction that, you know, I'm gonna win no matter what, you know. So that's a mindset you have to have in life, I believe.
Oh yeah, you do 100%.
100%.
And you have to just keep showing up.
You have to
just keep showing up.
Yeah, you got to show up and just swing at everything and make it happen, and you know, just set an example, you know, and that's what I try to do.
Yeah, no, that is awesome. I think I relate with you because I just see that, you know, you're doing something different. You just look like, it's not that you don't care, but you're going to do what you're going to do. And I find it, honestly, man, I find it quite inspiring that look at this guy, he's going at it. Like that first video, I know you look back on it and you're saying, oh, geez, it was bad or whatever you say. Because I look back on old videos of myself and I do the same thing. But that's inspiring. When you see that video...
It's fun.
It is so great, but it's also inspiring because when you
yes.
then you start going through the timeline and you're like, okay, here's this video. And they all said this guy's not gonna be back, but you kept going back, and then you're in bigger tournaments and you're at all this type of stuff. Like comes on the scene in this big way. You didn't care. You didn't care what anybody thought, and that stick-to-itness after people are saying this guy isn't going to show up. That's I don't know. I find it inspiring. I don't know.
I think the desire, and it just shows that here's somebody that liked arm wrestling, didn't know anything about it, didn't know even what he was doing, right?
Yeah.
But he had a desire and shows up and then continues to keep showing up.
Yeah.
And creates this facade about himself.
Yeah. No.
I think it's an awesome story.
I think it is an awesome story. And honestly, this is like why we did this. Like this gives me an excuse to like rub elbows with people that are going after it, that's exciting.
Yeah, it's funny. I look back at now, it's like I always give myself a bad time. Like, God, you think I would have Googled it or researched it or anything? And I'm telling you, like, absolutely none whatsoever. I didn't even know there was an arm wrestling table or anything, or you had to hold a peg or anything.
Yeah.
There's just so much technique. It's just it's so much technique.
Had you not seen Over the Top by that time?
Actually saw no, I haven't even. I didn't even think I seen the movie.
But you liked arm wrestling, but you didn't watch the. I mean, that was one that I remember as a kid watching it. We'd go around and arm wrestle in lunchtime.
That was the Rocky Balboa of arm wrestling.
Yeah. Well, was it? It was another. He ended up winning a diesel or $250 grand or something.
And I know. So John Brzezinski, who actually won it in real life, he's going to Dubai, in this next couple of weeks, arm wrestling, Devin Lorette. So, yeah, he's still arm wrestling. He is awesome. He's a legend, but I'm good friends with all those guys.
Is he the guy who the movie was based on or something?
Well, no, it wasn't. It was based on, the Sylvester Stallone whole deal. But
right.
The guy that actually won the tournament and won the truck, his name's John Brzezinski.
Okay.
It wasn't Sylvester Stallone, but.
Right. But I was wondering if it was like, I didn't know if that was based on an actual person or not.
How long has that guy been arm wrestling? I mean, that movie's got to be 30 years old.
Yeah, over 30 some on years. Yeah, exactly. He's 50. I want to say he's like 56.
Now, was he a truck driver by trade?
No, nothing. No.
So he just has this big truck out in front of his house?
Oh, no, he ended up selling the truck that he actually won. He ended up selling it, but yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, he actually works for Delta Airlines. John Brzezinski does. And so he gets flown everywhere, you know what I mean? So
yeah.
But yeah.
That's incredible.
It's pretty amazing where he's came from now, like what he's done.
So what is so I notice I'm seeing posts right now. What's going on in I think it's in Romania right now?
So Levon, well, it's actually in Dubai.
Oh, is this because there's like is there a world championship going on right now?
Yeah, there is. Now they have those, there's different. I was just in Worlds. We just had it in Orlando, Florida. So we just did that 2-3 months ago. I was in Florida and went to Worlds. So I was there, but in different countries, they have different deals. I mean, it's everywhere. I mean,
yeah.
So it's every country. I mean, and that country where what they're going on now, people travel to them. So even if you were here, you could go there. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah.
But we just had Worlds in Florida. So
is there different world tournaments?
Yeah, there is different world tournaments. So it's like to say, oh, I got 5th in the world. That's not the real deal. You know what I mean?
It's
at that tournament, at that situation, yes. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So
I see.
Yeah.
I see. Okay, because I was wondering how that all worked, and do people go and travel? I mean, have you ever traveled out of country to go do these tournaments?
I haven't, but yeah, a lot of people do. They go to Russia.
There looks like some big Russians and some big
there'd be some huge ones.
Czechoslovakians. Can't even say the word, but
yeah, no, these guys are huge,
big animals.
But even size doesn't really matter. I mean, these guys are juiced on steroids. I mean, these guys are on a whole different level. You know what I mean?
Man.
I mean, and now the new deal with this Levon guy. If you look at him, at one time I think he was like 136 pounds. I mean, he's like looks like he's 400 pounds now. He's I mean, he looks like a gorilla.
Wow.
He's not a very good-looking guy, I tell you, but he is a monster.
Yeah. Wow. I know, and then I started finding this. I don't know. It's funny that I've been introduced to this whole world because Chuck came and bought a breakfast burrito at our truck, and now I'm like
with Connor.
Yeah. Now I'm like, I literally have it popping up because you know how once you search something,
yeah,
it starts
coming
to
up.
pop up. So I'm like, schoolboy takes on such and such, and
Exactly.
and I got all this stuff coming up, and then I'm like, schoolboy, is that just something somebody wrote in a title? Like, watch this schoolboy, dominate this guy. Like, but then I realized, no, he calls himself schoolboy.
Yeah. Well, he got into it really, really young and got videos. I mean, he's a big YouTube. I mean,
yeah,
he's got a lot of YouTube hits, and I mean, so he travels, but he's really good too. You know what I mean? So he's really been promoting himself, self-promoting, But yeah, he's doing good.
That's smart. That's the name of the game. That's the part I'm interested in.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. There must be a lot of people that self-promote, or a handful of them anyway.
No, yeah, like Michael Todd is going in heavy on doing YouTube and stuff right now. Devin, it's the new thing. It's like that's what everyone's doing right now, doing videos the whole time.
Are you aware of anyone before you? So I'm now aware of this world because of you, like, and that video of you coming on the scene. Was there anybody really before you, like, that you can think of offhand that kind of had your swagger or your I don't know. Do you see what I'm saying? Like the branding you do.
Right. I don't think so. I don't think so. I mean, I know they're doing it now. A lot of people are doing it now, but no. And my deal was just totally off the chart too. So I think it's funny. I just keep looking back at everything that happened, and it's just like, man. But it is what it is, and that's why I'm at, where I'm at today. You know what I mean? Because of it.
So in placement over the last, I don't know how long you've been doing it, 10 plus years, right?
Mm-hmm.
What have you placed? Because I know there's like nationals, right? And then you got worlds and probably 100 other ones, but like, what are some of the things you've placed?
So basically like Montana state champion, Washington when I was there. I did a lot in California, so I was traveling basically California, Oregon, Washington, that whole deal. And some out of state things I would travel, like I went to Florida once, but not nationally or gone to nationals. I didn't do any of that stuff, just because I was doing mainly state tournaments, and I never went to really go to nationals. But I will be this next year or whatever. I'll start going to tournaments a little bit more. I'm gonna step it up.
Yeah. I was looking at it and I'm like, I mean, how much does age play a factor in here? Like, dude, you're huge, man. You look in great shape. I tried to do the math on everything else, and I'm wondering, how old are you now?
So I'm 51 now.
Okay.
So I'm 51, and it's crazy. I trowel concrete, so this is me. I'm stock out of the gate. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Everyone's training. They're in the gym, and I'm like that farm truck. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just get right out of the farm truck, wide over there, and I just start. But I want to get in the gym and stuff and do all that. It's like recovery for me is everything. Like, I pour concrete, and when I'm done, if you sat there and said, "Hey, do you want to go lift weights?" I'm like, "Are you crazy?" No, I don't want to lift weights.
I've been lifting weights all day. Yeah.
So this is me stock out of the gate. You know
really?
What I mean? Yeah.
That's amazing, because I was wondering, like, how does he have time? I know you have several businesses and everything else.
It's
I guess
corn fed.
That's amazing.
So do you have one of those like going over the top? You know how he has one that he works his arm.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have anything that you do?
Yes, yeah, I do, and but I have all the stuff, and it's like you have gym equipment, but do you use it? And I got training tools. I got I got this arm deal. It's called the Arm Trainer, and I have it hooked up. So it's got bands on it, so you're pulling and do that. And I got a Terminator table that has, you put weights, on it and stuff like that. But a lot of different handles for, hand strength. But me troweling concrete, that's how I got my hands so strong.
Oh, I bet.
I got my hands are
you're pulling. Well, you're pulling all the
and
time.
you're troweling, and you're using your hands. So
yeah, you got to grip that thing so it's not spinning on you.
Right. So my hand strength is extreme, and it's all because of concrete. So, I mean,
that's crazy.
Yeah,
That's
really
incredible.
is. I got big forearms because it's like, because I'm troweling. People are like, what are you lifting? What do you lift? I'm like, man,
I'm lifting concrete.
Yeah, I'm in recovery. For me now, it's just I want to recover.
It's hard to even think of, like, in the thought of, because I know when I was in high school and college, because I wrestled in college,
Right.
and we would do the hand, so I'd be in class, you'd be like, I'm going to do like 15 before class, and then you'd switch.
Yeah.
And you'd wake up in the morning and, I still do, but I'm not near as, admittedly not as much, but like 25 push-ups, in between.
Right.
But you don't do really any of that. I mean,
No.
you have the concept of it once in a while.
Yeah. I want to say that, like we're building a gym right now, and it's going to happen, and I'm going to change my game up. I'm going to go into another weight cut right now. So I was like 265, and I got down to 225, and then I'm back up another 10 pounds. So I'm kind of fluctuating weight because there is weight classes. And for me, I just want to get in the best shape, possible, So I'm trying to, I was at 225, I was like 12% body fat, just stock. So I really want to.
That's awesome.
I've gone up now a little bit, but I think that's what my goal is this next year is take it to a different level. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Do you have? Oh, sorry. Do you have those little? Do you use those little hand grip things?
I have them, but I got some really, really hard ones. You know what I mean? But
yeah.
But truthfully, I don't, because I guess it's for me now. It's just like healing my hands. From troweling all the time. The recovery is what I need to do. So if you, it feels like after I trowel a slab, if I wait a couple days, then I could really feel the strength. So it's kind of a trick there too. Like before tournaments, you got to rest like a week or so before a tournament.
Yeah.
But I like doing the hands couple days prior to an arm wrestling match, just work a little bit, and then they just seem extra strong.
I got to tell you a story about my dad. I should have thought about this ahead of time, and I should have just done this morning. I should have done
this. Work your hands?
Well, my dad, he has an epic story that I remember as a kid. I should have done it. I'll tell you the story. So my dad in the 80s and 90s, he was the down in Clark County, Nevada, which is Las Vegas.
Right.
He was the director of business licensing for gaming and liquor. So if you were going to open up, had anything to do with casinos and liquor, he was the director of that department. He was right under the county commissioners, so everything had to be signed off by his department once it got approval, and whatever. So he was kind of like people had to go through him to get it in front of the county commissioners, because he would, anyway. So they're there to impress him. So there was these guys. I want to say there was Phil and Tom. They started up PT's Pub. And there's PT's Pubs now all over Las Vegas, or at least there was in 2007 when I left. And they're great little neighborhood sports bars. Good food, and it's just they dialed in a real good atmosphere that they were known for. And every street you went down, there was a PT's Pub, and there was just a chain of them. So Phil and Tom, they came out, and they're these two brothers. I can't remember if they were twins, but they were just massive, just worked out all the time, really super fit. They built their first one, and they built it into this massive organization, massive company. So one day, one of them, I can't remember if it was Phil or Tom, whoever, they were in my dad's office, and they're talking to him about they're trying to get their stuff licensed. They're like, hey, so, Mr. Solomon, how do we do this? All this stuff. And he's sitting at his desk, and he's like, hey, I noticed you guys, you seem to work out. You guys are in good shape. And he's like, well, yeah, thank you, Mr. Solomon. And he's like, hey, you know what? I got these little grips. Sometimes I sit back here and, in my desk and I got it. And he takes out 2 of those grips, right? Well, one of them is like
really hard,
500 pounds of pressure or whatever, And one of them was like really easy. And he goes, hey, I'll tell you what, here, why don't you take one of these and we'll just put a penny in here and we'll just squeeze it and we'll put a penny in here and we'll just see who drops the penny first. And the guy's like, okay.
So random. This is totally
random. And the guy's like just going along with it because he's got to get this guy's approval to open up his bar, And so they both put a penny in there. And my dad's sitting there and he's just holding on to this thing. And so that's great. So, how are you guys going to do this? And how are you guys going to do that? And this guy's over there and he's holding it, right?
And he's holding the hard one.
He's holding the really hard one. My dad's like, he's like, I could barely even get that one to close. And he goes, he's holding that penny over there for like a long time. And he goes, I just keep going on with the conversation. This one's, there's nothing to it. And he goes, eventually, I see him, he's starting to kind of shake a little bit, and he's like, I just keep talking. And eventually this guy's like, Mr. Solomon, you kind of surprised me. I mean, no offense. You don't look like a real big guy, but you're doing really, I'm starting to struggle, honestly. And he's holding that thing. It'd been like minutes and minutes, right? So finally,
his hand's shaking as
the penny drops. Tink, tink, tink. And he dropped the penny first. And then he's just like, my dad's like, oh well, hey man, it's no big deal. You're good. Took back the thing from him, never told him, and was like, put it back in the desk and just went on. And this guy's over there just like veins are popping out and everything. This really big dude. Anyway, my dad came home. He was so pumped. He told us that story and he was just like, man, I got that guy so good. Yeah, he thought I'm huge. Anyway, I should have done the same thing.
And he
today.
Never knew. The guy left thinking he was like, dude, I had this major guy who's super strong.
Yeah. He's just trying to impress the guy so he can get signed off on his bar and casino. Anyway, I should have said, what a missed opportunity.
Yeah, you could have done and tried to do that to me.
Oh, man.
That would have been epic.
That would have been epic, yeah, because he would have been shaking.
Because I've been really, really trying to prove, trying to show off.
Yeah. I know. I couldn't even hold it. I just had to tell you the story because give the credit to my dad.
We could have played that up. I would have been like, dude, you're the destroyer.
Yeah,
you can't let him have it.
Try to put me together.
I just had to tell you that story. Oh,
I'm going to remember now.
Next time, don't trust me if I got some of those.
He's going to put 2 of them. He's going to go get 2 and start doing it to all of his friends.
Start practicing.
Hey, I got a lot of eggs 40 pounds of eggs there. I got to cook at a time.
How many eggs do you really go through? You go through so much stuff. I could only imagine. I have this big vision. I just see massive amounts of food, to make all those burritos.
I think there's a lot of truth to it. I've seen some of those, and there are a lot.
It's just crazy.
It is crazy. It's kind of we had to get kind of creative on how we, we're in a limited amount of space.
Yeah.
But I have it figured out now. I can cook 40 pounds of eggs at one time. That's a whole case of eggs. So
how many eggs are in a case?
Well, it's actually it's actually big bags. They're 20-pound bags of eggs. It's all natural eggs. It's just eggs that they have cracked and mixed up for you.
Right.
And the only thing they'll add, it's all natural egg, but they'll add a little bit of citric acid to it because eggs they'll turn green on you or whatever. So to keep things from doing that, that's the only thing they'll add. So it's all natural eggs, it's whatever. But we used to crack 30 dozen eggs every day. That was a chore. And then you had to we had these big 6-quart containers that, now you're trying to fish off one tiny little speck of shell that fell in there into this huge container of egg yolks and egg. And it was a daily chore we were going through. And as we were doing more and more burritos, it became a problem. I'm like, how do we go to the next level? That's when my guy was like, dude, I can take you to the next level.
Does it cost more to get in the bags?
Yeah. The eggs are more expensive.
It's not all what it's cracked up to be.
That's a good one.
Yeah. So that's how he was like, my guy was like, hey, look, we do have this for you, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I don't know, man. But then he brought me some and I was like, actually, these are great. So I was happy we had to go to that switch.
So how much time did it save?
Oh.
Like, did it make up whatever the cost difference was? Did it make up
Yes.
the savings?
Oh, yes. There's no way we could be cracking them as many eggs as what we go through now. So I used to have the numbers down. I used to have it all. I feel bad that on the spot I can't come up with it about exactly how much of an egg is in every burrito. But we measure everything out. But a 40 pounds of eggs, I'll tell you this, 40 pounds of eggs will do about 150 breakfast burritos.
Wow.
And they expand when you cook them, and they it'll do 150 breakfast burritos. So so right now we're just here in Columbus. I was doing 80, let's see here. I was doing anywhere from 80 to 120 pounds of eggs every morning just to do Columbus.
120 pounds?
Of eggs.
That's no yolk.
That is no yolk at all. No.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Yeah.
That's a lot of eggs.
Yeah, that's per morning. And
so
that's,
how many pounds? How many eggs does it take to make a pound? Like how many? Do you have any idea how many eggs it takes?
I don't. I haven't.
No.
It's been a little while since I've done all that measuring and all that weighing and everything. But that was peak earlier this summer and spring when we were sending the truck to town, and we're here. We were, every burrito is a pound, and I can say this because we were doing 400 to 500 plus burritos every morning. So that's 500 pounds of food we were doing every morning. Then there's potatoes. We're cutting 200 pounds of potatoes. Then there's, we're going through.
So sausage, because you have sausage, steak, and bacon, right? And sometimes ham.
Correct. We were going through I want to say, bacon is very lightweight, but we were doing, 20 pounds to 30 pounds of bacon per morning. And that is lightweight. That's a lot of bacon to come up with that kind of weight. Steak, we're doing 30 to 45 pounds of steak in the morning.
Gosh.
And yeah.
When you really look at it, that's just amazing what you have to go through just to make a burrito.
Just to put out a breakfast burrito. Yeah. It's amazing how much butter we go through. You wouldn't believe how much butter we go through.
What's amazing
pound.
to me is what time you get started. Because there are times
I'm going through 8 to 10 pounds of butter per morning.
Butter,
Gosh.
Of butter. Yeah. Anyway.
Well, I'm glad
not to get it all sidetracked.
No, that's impressive. I love it.
Yeah, so it was.
Hey, they're good. I like them. They're all delicious.
How was your Chipotle bacon the other day?
Loved it.
Awesome.
I don't know which one I like better, to be honest. I definitely think I'm a sausage over bacon, but man, the bacon was really good.
So, I got to tell you, from the moment I met Chuck, he's like, "Hey, we need to get together, and I think you need to make a burrito called the Destroyer."
Totally.
I've been thinking about this since you asked. I think you might as well. I think that there's some way that you have to promote him a little bit so they understand. If people understood why it's called the Destroyer, it's not like, man, I'm going to eat the Destroyer.
Well, my first reaction was there's no possible way I can make there's burritos already have people already have a stigma or something attached to them, I don't want that to tear me up today at work or something, and I get that all the time. And they're like, oh, is this going to just ruin my day tomorrow? And or people who haven't had our breakfast burrito, they'll come and they'll say things like that type of thing, and I'm like, wait until I put the Destroyer on the menu.
Yeah.
I can't put something called the Destroyer, something that's going to destroy you.
I think that if you promoted it right and put his picture of the armor, why it's called the Destroyer,
right?
Then I think that there's a lot of it would take after that.
Well, I can't believe I didn't just latch onto it, that it's a genius idea, that he is a genius of marketing. I feel like I'm going to hand that to you there.
It's a smart idea. And then, hey, what's the big one that I always get? What's that?
The La Bamba?
Okay, the La Bamba.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm still thinking you got the La Bamba is the big one, right?
Right.
Okay, well.
Pound and a half.
Pound and a half. So then you could do the 2-pound Destroyer.
Oh.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, he's on to something.
And that's not to hurt you, but it's a Destroyer. So that's going to be the biggest, the best.
So do we go big or do we go spicy?
I'm with the big. I think you
I'm
go
with
big.
the big.
It gets hard to roll, man. Have you like?
Okay, so La Bamba, is
Not that
one
I'm going to
crazy-
sit here and be a whiner.
Do the 150.
I got this
pounder.
huge guy over here. It's too hard to roll.
No,
And
no.
it's all natural. He's just born this way. He wasn't born. He was hatched.
Hey, and it wasn't even like hatch. It's like I've been in training camp on the ground like Cinderella. You know what I mean? Scrubbing concrete floors
Yeah.
for a living. You know what I mean? It's not as easy. As, it's imagine getting on knee boards and sliding a whole slab and hand doing it all by your hand.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
man.
I know I have machines too, but serious, I've trowed some slabs. You know?
I imagine.
Oh, you do 2,000 square feet. You got blisters like no other. You're out there hand troweling every slab. I mean, it's a workout.
Yeah, I believe it.
I've helped pour. I'm just a grunt that helps pour lots of slabs. And I think when I say lots, maybe like 20. That guy does it in like a month. 2 weeks. How long? If I were to say I've helped with 20 plus.
That's good. That's good though.
Pours, right?
Yeah.
Where I feel like I'm comfortable enough to help get the concept of what's being done. But I know that I don't know anything about finishing work. But you had probably done that in a month,
so it's,
2 weeks?
No, with me, it's all custom. So we're doing like 1 or 2 pours a week, because there's so much setup involved. So so even if you were doing one real custom home, you set it up 2-3 days, setting it all up, couple, depending on the situation.
Tear down, clean everything up.
And you're pouring. I do a lot of decorative stamp, so, a lot of setup is involved. You know what I mean? Doing your setup is really critical.
So if you want to, on our back porch, it has a little round table. I wanted to change, because all it is just poured cement.
Yeah.
But now there's cracking and stuff that happens.
So I love doing demo replace. Just go in there, we just take it all out, and then come in and do a really beautiful stamp patio. A lot of people will have decks too, but the prices of lumber is through the roof.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And people the lumber is so expensive, you know what I mean, to redo a deck. And if it was low off the ground, I try to talk them into, hey, tear out the whole deck and then we do a stamp patio, so that's, yeah, we just pour it all in concrete.
Yeah.
We redo it.
See, there we go. Have the destroyer.
Yeah.
Here's
you get a big discount too, because we're brothers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're like, do you remember that time?
No,
Yeah.
I'll rip your arm
I
off.
got you. Yeah, exactly. Hey, conviction with confidence. I love it. That's what you got to do.
We might have to get an arm wrestling table in here. I was going to ask you, do you have an arm wrestling table?
Yeah,
Or we should get one made up in here. And
I'd do it. I'd totally do it. But there was one time I was on a business trip, and there was a bunch of us that just came together, from different. It was actually, I was on the school board, and so I had gone because I was the propane guy, and they wanted to do propane school buses, and so they asked me to go to Detroit, and so we got to tour the Ford.
Right.
And I didn't know that Ford has their own shop, but then Roush was the one that was paying for this. And there's 100 different buildings around Detroit.
Wow.
And so we got a tour, 15 of them. And then they gave us keys to propane vehicles.
Wow.
That we got to drive around each one. Anyway, in the process of that, I ran into this guy that loved arm wrestling. And so we were talking arm wrestling. And he's like, it was that kind of, we were just,
right.
You just got to get to know each other. And so by the end of the day, we're having dinner. And he's like, I'll arm wrestle you for who pays for dinner, which we were getting it free anyway,
Right.
But we were just giving each other a hard time. And I was like, I'll totally arm wrestle you. I'll rip your arm off.
Yeah.
And I didn't actually say those words. I'm like, I'd beat you. And he's like, all right.
Come on.
So we did it. Well, then he let me win. And I thought I won one out of, and then he beat me one. And then he was like, okay, this is what you're doing wrong. Like, if you continue to do that, I would have broke your arm. So can you talk about that a little bit?
So I'm glad that you're talking about that. So people could just, if you ever watch someone really straining when they're arm wrestling, they put their arm up. But when they're really trying, what happens is they turn their head away.
That's what he was telling me.
Okay,
Yeah.
so they turn their head away. So the key to arm wrestling, no matter what,
is to keep your eyes, right?
You keep your eyes on your hand. So you just watch your hand. Everything, you have to watch your hand. And if you look away, it only takes 8 pounds of pressure to snap your arm.
Oh my gosh.
And it's really crazy, but everyone, when you see someone really try, that person always turns their head. They always do it. So That's a big word of advice. Make sure you always, watch your hand. And I've seen so many arm breaks, and
Oh, really?
I can't really talk about it too much because it gets me sick to my stomach.
Oh, man.
Horrible.
Thank you. Because I'm super squeamish. I would be like,
well, there was one guy, like we were in college, and there were these guys that were, they'd gone to nationals in college because there's age groups, right?
Well, there is age groups. So there's like masters class. There is age groups, yes. But basically we pull pro. There's amateur, and then there's pro division, and so they call it open, which is pro.
Anybody. So an open, anybody from 18 to 70.
You totally could. You totally can. But and there's age, older classes too. Like I'll pull the master. I mean, I'm getting up there, So and there's masters like over 40 and stuff like that. But really, when you're pulling open, age doesn't matter. You're pulling, the young guy. I pull open class and I do masters too. I pull that class too. But I pull all the time. It don't matter about their age.
So the key is to making sure you can see your arm, right?
Yeah, and technique. There's so much technique on how you hold your hand if you're capping or going over your thumb, and there's so many different techniques. And there's hooks, there's presses, there's so many things. It's not like you're just standing up there and going down like what you thought. You're standing up and you're using your body. You know what I mean? And you're throwing your whole body, your whole entire deal, and you're basically trying to make your arm, shoulder, everything one piece, and speed is power. So like that's another thing, like I have a really good hit, so speed is power, and some guys use other techniques, and they'll hold you and blow, burn you out and then beat you. I mean, so.
That makes me think about that movie then, Over the Top. That's like when you watch something like that, is there technique dialed in?
Totally. It's all the arm
Dude,
wrestling.
It's over the top. That's what made him win.
Yeah, and it's mindset too. You remember how I said that?
Yeah.
It's mindset, and it's like you watch
turning
arm
your
wrestling.
hat backwards. It's like turning on the ignition to your truck.
Yeah,
exactly. And that's the way you need to be doing that every single morning.
Hey, I haven't seen that movie in like 25, 30 years.
I haven't seen it in a long time, but I'm gonna go
but I
home
can
this
still
week
quote it
and watch it with my kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just like, because we're at that point in life. My kids are teenagers.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm like, here's a great one.
So, and I'm sorry, I did not mean to cut you off on that, but that
good.
mindset thing.
Yeah.
Expand on that, because that's what he's doing in that movie.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about.
Right. And I've always been that way when you're going to the table, and in different deals. Like I was in Arm Wars in Las Vegas, right? And there's like 7-8 camera crews, around you, and getting invited to be on Arm Wars. Neil Pickup put me on Arm Wars because of how intense I am. I was, I'm not the best or anything like that in the world, but I bring the fight. I'm really, intense and stuff. So, right before you're getting up there, I really get into a fighting situation, and I get into that mode. And
so do you go to the back and like, are you kind of, do you withdraw a little bit?
Yeah.
And then get into your head?
Yeah,
and
totally, 100%.
Like, what's your, how do you do that?
I know it sounds crazy, but it's true. Like when my class gets pot up, then next thing you know, I'm pacing like a wildcat. You know what I mean? Like serious, I'm pacing, and I'm doing some praying. I'm doing a little bit of everything, and just getting that mindset to bring everything on the table. And so it's like flipping a switch. And I've had guys, it's funny how you're saying that, because I've had guys come in and be like, dude, I thought you were going to hit me for some reason, and you were so intense and everything like that. And then they were just blown away. Like, I was like, dude, that was so awesome, and after the deal, and even if I lost, I was like, that was killer, man. Wasn't that great? And
so intense. You're like, you're in the experience. You're in the moment.
Yeah, totally. And it was pretty cool. About 2 months ago, I got one of my biggest wins was beating Corey Miller. He's a world champion. He is just amazing. They call him Flash. He's so fast. They call him Flash, right? Well, I get up there, and he's a top roller and I am too. So that means we basically slipped out. So what happened was we slipped out. I ended up punching myself right in the face, just blast myself in my glasses. My nose is bleeding. I mean, my wife's over here and I hand her the glasses and I'm just so, I mean, I am really jacked up in the moment, bad, you know, and I got blood coming down my deal and I get up there and we go to a strap because when you slip, you go to a strap and they're putting the strap in. It's so funny because I'm just loading in Corey's hand, just crushing it in a strap too. And I'm like, you're not going to get away from me. I'm just going crazy. And Corey, it was so funny what he said. He goes, oh, I can tell, you know, because I was crushing his hand and he felt so uncomfortable and I was just going crazy. And I'm like, you're not going to get away from me. He's like, oh, I can tell. And I think about it now, it's so awesome. But, you know, I beat him.
I think I saw that.
That was on Facebook. Yeah.
Okay. I think it might even be on YouTube.
I'll have to go back and look. I just watched. I just wanted to have an idea of what he was when he came in.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was pretty amazing. And then, like back in the day, you know, I got that sponsor through Clinch mouth guards, and I was like, you know what? And I'm the only guy that and now there's guys that I've seen wear mouth guards, you know what I mean? But
you started something, man.
Yeah,
well, you think about it, that would be I mean, when we did, you know, football and wrestling and stuff, it actually does help
totally
line your body up a little bit.
So because I clinched so hard in my you know, going up there, you have no idea how much pressure you're putting on your whole body. And so I got sponsored with Clinch mouth guards, and I had these like awesome teeth, you know, like shark teeth and stuff, real intimidating. People are like just tripping out, you know. And they got the cameras like right in your face, you know, and you're just like so intense. But yeah, it's awesome.
That is awesome.
Yeah,
that's great.
Yeah, it's killer.
So how long have you been doing it?
Since 2012.
2012. Okay, so it's almost 10 years.
Yeah.
What if you were to do? What are your top 5 favorite matches? One win or loss, doesn't matter. What are your top 5?
Corey Miller is one epic battle. Now, even though I lost in this situation, pulling Devin Lorette was another epic situation.
Was that the only time you've actually?
I've only arm wrestled him once.
That one, okay.
That one time.
Okay.
And it's like a draw?
No, it was the weight classes and, you know, the brackets and stuff like that. But another one of my biggest wins was against a guy named Robbie Topi. He's just like this monster buff. He's a total stud. He's totally a killer guy. But those were some big matches for me. Pulling Jeff Dobb. Jeff Dobb's got the world's largest hand. World's largest hand. I mean, his hand, I'm not even kidding you, is as big as a baseball mitt. And even though I lost, we had a war, you know what I mean? But even though I lost him, that was, you know, pretty epic for me, you know. So he's pretty famous.
Now I got to look up that hand.
Oh, Jeff.
I wish I had.
Yeah, I got to look it up too. Like, there's one guy that we were watching him, but he has brown hair and kind of, I would say he's like 6'2" or 3.
Right.
But I have no idea what his name was. It was that one night when we were sitting around talking about arm wrestling.
Right. Yeah. Well, Jeff Dobb, his hand came halfway down my forearm. I'm not even kidding you. At least
wow.
He looks so. I mean, he's just real. I mean, I'm up here grabbing his thumb. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not even joking.
So does his hands just wrap around yours?
No,
just like
all the way halfway down my forearm. Like, wait, his hand comes down here. I got pictures of my hand and him. I'll show you later after this. I mean, his hand is this big. It's no joke. And he's got the world's largest hand. I mean, he looks, his arm and everything. He's got some, I know, it's crazy looking at him, but he's a cool guy. He's totally
now,
cool.
both hands the same?
Yeah, both hands are really big. Yeah, they're both monster hands. Yeah, he only pulls left-handed though.
Huh.
But yeah, he's.
When I see you guys going back and forth like that, I can't even imagine. Like, my left arm,
crazy.
like, this is like, look at me, that's useless.
Well, and
like,
and then you think, how many times can you do it?
Hey,
you know,
this is
2,
even,
3.
It's even funnier you say that. I remember when I first got in arm wrestling. You know, like right in the beginning, I'm going to these tournaments, and the second tournament, you know, I'm pulling pro, and this guy goes, "Hey, Chuck, you know, truthfully, you need to start out at amateur and beat everybody there, and then you'll move up. Everything will be fine. Trust me, it's experience." And so I started doing that. But they go, "Hey, you're up." And I'm like, left-handed. I go, "I'm not left-handed." He goes, "Oh no, I know, but you arm wrestle left-handed." I said, "What are you talking about? You know, imagine you're throwing a ball
Yeah.
left.
Like everything's off. Yeah.
But it's like you're training your left. My left is extremely awesome. I mean, I do really good left-handed. You know, and actually, I would have to say I get more wins on my left, even though I'm winning big time with my right. But my left is really good.
That's funny. That even makes the story better. Like you went into arm wrestling and you didn't even know left-handed is like you got to go both sides.
Yeah.
I wish I could have saw your face
it's like
when you're like, wait a
you have
minute.
to be ambidextrous in arm wrestling.
And there's guys out there that only pull right and pull left. But what's so funny, the guys were like, "No, Chuck, you got to pull left-handed." I'm like, "Really?" And I have my own style left-handed.
I can imagine that conversation.
Yeah, and I want to thank all those guys for steering me in the right direction. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So it was really crazy.
Can you imagine? I mean, you get into the major leagues in baseball, and they're like, no. I'm sorry, you batted right hand last time.
Yeah, you got to do left.
This time you're batting left hand, and you're just like,
it threw my game off. But you know what? It's so crazy. You could actually, when you're training, starting something fresh, you have better setup. I don't know. It just turned out really good. I was really blessed.
So have you trained people? Like if you had somebody young come to you?
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah, and my son, he's my youngest son, he's 16. He arm wrestles, and I've taken him, and he's doing it now. And my oldest boy, he's gonna be 30. Can't believe it. But I took Tyler to a few tournaments too. But yeah, training somebody is no problem, and it's actually fun. Just to help guys, teach them different techniques and stuff, and show them. Yeah, it's pretty fun. Yeah, I love it.
wow.
So is there a group of guys here in Billings?
Yeah.
And is it just one, or is there different clubs, or how does that work?
So there's different practices, and I haven't been going to any of the practices. I should. I'm going to start going to all these guys with their practices. But before, I was just kind of like in between, like I wasn't trying to teach, you know what I mean? You show them your secrets.
Yeah,
you get what I mean?
Then they're going to come after you.
Yeah, but it's all good, you know what I mean? And so I'm going to start going to more practices in Billings, but there's a whole group of guys here, and I go to Wyoming, to Dauntless Gym right here. So one of my best buddies, Devin Bear, he owns Dauntless Gyms out there. We have some practice with the Wyoming guys, and I like going out there with them. Just because he's top notch, and training with the best guys and learning from the best guys, and it's the name of the game.
Dauntless Gyms, I've seen those,
Have you?
My wife's from Cali, and so the Bighorn Basin is kind of where our family was from.
Right.
But I've seen two of them. How many are there?
So I think he owns 4 gyms, and I'm trying to think of all. There's one in Level, Wyoming, and then.
That's the one I see the most.
Yeah. So they got a few different ones.
So they must have one in Cody area.
Yeah. And they're opening another one. They're doing another one in God, I'm trying to think where the next one is, but they're going to be building another one. Jackson Hole.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And it's like 24 hours. They give them keys or a pass code or something, right? You can go in and work out anytime.
Yeah.
It's kind of the way they say it.
Nicest gym you've ever been in. Like straight up. You go into the most high tech, the best gym out there. I'm begging him. I'm like, "Hey, Devin, can you just build one in Laurel? I mean, if you build one here," and I'm always saying it. He hasn't done it yet, but the nicest gym. You ever want to go to the best gym around here, or if you could travel and go somewhere, go to Dauntless Gym. It's the best.
Huh. I'll have to go in next time I'm down there. I'm gonna have to drive. I've driven past it.
The way you stuck on me about a Destroyer breakfast burrito, I think, you just stay on him. You'll get your gym in Laurel.
Yeah, well, I know I'm gonna get that burrito. Believe
That's
that.
right.
The first time,
pound and a half. Just change it.
Change it up a little bit. And even if you had to go the La Bamba and let's pretend you had to go the same size, okay? Mm-hmm. I'd still be good with that.
Yeah, La Bamba Destroyer. Just change it.
How do you like? Do you like spicy?
Yeah, I love spicy.
Okay, all right. So I will tell you, we have been working on something, but I don't know I don't know. I don't know if you want to be associated with this burrito, but we'll see. We're working on it. April made some sauce.
He's known as the Destroyer. He's going to rip somebody's arm. I think he's okay with if that destroys somebody.
Yeah, I feel like I shouldn't have even said that now. You're right.
You got to just, I promise you.
So
I promise you, I guarantee you, people are like, hey, what's a Destroyer? And
so there's a guy out in I can't remember. I feel bad right now. I wish I had the name of his sauce company, but he makes hot sauces, and we got introduced to him. He actually follows us now, and he's a startup, and he's got some great hot sauces. We have a bunch of them in the fridge that he's sent out to us.
Wow.
And he and April, they I don't know, she speaks the language of peppers and sauce. So all of a sudden we have this box show up, and we got this medley of death. These peppers in this thing, I don't even know. Like, they all look.
So you're thinking of putting that into the Destroyer?
That's what I'm thinking.
Hey, well, I think that's the greatest idea.
These things are, I'm telling you, there's ghost peppers, there's Carolina Reapers, there's all these other names too that I can't remember. There was about 7 or 8 peppers in there that they look evil. Like, it's weird how a pepper, you can tell that thing looks. I don't know how to explain it, but they're kind of gnarly looking. They got really bright colors.
Right.
And she just took all of that and she pickled it a while back. And when we do it in the trailer, when you're cutting those stuff, you're gloved up. We should be wearing masks. Like, everybody starts coughing. It gets into the air in there, and it would be running the vent fan in there. And all of a sudden, it just hits the back of your throat. And when you're preparing these peppers,
I can imagine, because there's some crazy peppers out there, and I don't know anything about peppers.
Yeah. So the other day we put them in a blender and we mixed them all up, and we were talking about making this sauce. I'm thinking, I don't know, we've been throwing around the idea we're gonna test run this sauce in the burrito maybe this week, and maybe we'll run the Destroyer next week. But it's this blend of peppers was so hot. So April stuck a fork in there into the blender of the peppers, and she tasted it, and she's like, yeah, that's I don't know, she has like 3 taste buds or something. That's what I tell her, but she can take extremely hot stuff. She's like, I mean, it's kind of like the habanero. Or our guy Glenn, who also makes the sauce for us, he's not into hot, but he went and grabbed a fork and stuck it in there. He's like, oh, if it's like the habanero, I've tasted the habanero before. Like, he took a good 20 minutes after that to recover. He went outside. He was in so much pain. I was like, dude, do I got to run over and like get you some milk or something? Like, this guy, he was sweating. His mouth was on fire. He was trying different drinks in our refrigerator. He's like, I'm shaking. I'm physically shaking. This went on for 20 minutes in there from one taste off the fork.
Was it the habanero? There was one that you're like, try this one. And I'm like, I was crying. Like, I'm driving out of town, and I'm like, holy crap, that thing made me cry.
I don't know if that was a habanero. I mean, there was one time we did ghost peppers.
I don't remember. They were just like, you're like, this one's going to wake you up. It'll make you know you're alive.
Yeah.
And it did.
Yeah. Well,
like, I can't say I was shaking, but man, I'll tell you what, it was like, if you had tears running down, you're like, holy crap, I'm awake.
Well, this is what I'm thinking. I think, we made that, and we put it with our sauce. And we were going to call it Big Fat Reaper sauce or something. And then, I don't know, and then we put it in a burrito that we call it, the Destroyer.
I love it.
And
smart idea. See, you're on to something right there. It's like perfect. It's awesome. Then they won't get confused.
Yeah, he's right. He's totally right.
They're not going to get confused. Now it's like the Destroyer. Like, yeah, this is so hot. I mean, if you're into spicy food, you're going to love this thing. Yeah. And then just make it loaded with everything you could imagine. Yeah. And in there, the whole kitchen. Put it in there. Okay. With that sauce and call it the Destroyer.
I think so.
That's it.
Yeah. You don't end up selling. When we did our ghost, these ghost peppers. When we did those one time before, the burrito was so hot. Like, I couldn't eat a whole one. Like, and I can handle hot stuff. I eat hot stuff all the time, This thing, it was so hot. It was crazy. I don't think I could have finished the whole one. But this is the thing. When you run a burrito like that, you don't sell a lot of them. But they get exposure. When you post that, everybody has somebody that they know that loves hot things. And when we promote it,
completely.
they share it, they tag. Your burrito sales actually go up in other areas because of the attention you got that week. People don't actually buy it.
Well,
right.
But you'll get a few. We have some diehards.
Yeah, you'll have conversations about it. I mean, it reminds me of like, you go into these weird places and they're like, if you can eat this steak that's a 20-pounder,
Right.
Like you get your meal for free kind of thing.
Yeah.
And, I can't imagine that there's a lot of people that try it because you're like, 20
you know what I forgot?
20 pounds of meat's a lot.
Maybe this week I'm going to try to find these like little milks, like the smallest little carton of milk I can find. So every Big Fat Reaper, every destroyer comes with this little thing of milk.
Well, and the other thing too, you could even make it, like if they could eat it all. You know what I mean? It's so hot.
Yeah.
And then like if
we'll
you
just throw it in.
We're like, hey, if you can honestly eat it all, promote it that way.
Yeah.
Try to give them a little twist on the end of it.
Yeah, because it reminds me of, I can remember as kids, we were, if you could drink a whole percent milk, drink a whole gallon in an hour.
Yeah.
Like you ever try that?
No.
Oh man, we had
whole. What do you mean whole percent milk?
You guys never. This was common for us growing up.
No, I drink raw milk. I love raw milk, but to sit there and say I could drink a gallon of it, no.
You drank a gallon?
No, I didn't do it. Are you kidding me? I was just the encourager.
Oh, okay.
So
you were an instigator.
So we had a group of us. There were 7 of us, and we would come up with like these crazy ideas. Like there would be one where we'd go to the mall, and there's a couple of them. I'm trying to think if I should share them, but like one was there was mannequins, and then there would be these live models standing there still, and so it'd be like the 3 of us going by, and I'd be like, "Hey, the destroyer, I'll bet you lunch you can't go up and just kiss her." And he'd be like,
can't
"What?"
get away with that nowadays.
No, wouldn't try that.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, well, so here we were,
Nowadays
like,
it's
so we're like
crazy.
14, 14,
right.
15.
Cody's from a different era.
And we, all of a sudden, he goes up and gives her a smack, and she slaps him hard.
Wow.
He's staggering across the lobby.
Yeah.
And we were laughing. I mean, we're standing over in, safe distance away, 10 yards or so, laughing.
Yeah.
Of our buddy just got freaking hand slapped because he went up and gave her a smack, And so with that, one of these was like, there's this milk challenge. And so we had this guy who was our heavyweight. At that time, I was light heavyweight, but he was like 6'6". And we're like, Tyler. And we always called him Lenny. He hated it because of, what's that book? We have Lenny and George. And anyway, it's a little bit slower. I can't remember.
Oh, of Mice and Men. Of Mice and Men.
Mice and Men, yeah. Anyway, so we'd give him a hard time. We'd call him Lenny because Lenny was always like, "He's such a
big
nice,
slow guy."
Yeah, big slow guy. You can imagine why would he like that?
Yeah.
And so we would give Lenny. We're like, "Hey, Lenny, we'll buy you dinner if you can drink this gallon of milk in an hour, but you have to do it in an hour."
Oh man.
And so we would test each other around. And we had this other guy named Leon. His whole goal was to be like 270. He wanted to just be massive. And so he would eat like all of our leftovers. We'd be eating dinner and he'd be like, "Are you going to eat that?" And you're like, "Dude, I'm not eating my, quarter hamburger. I have like 2 bites left." And so they tried it, and man, he did it. He got it down. But the next 15 minutes was miserable for him, and he was throwing up. And
oh my gosh, that's how you're.
But I can't believe you guys never tried that.
No.
I didn't do any of that kind of stuff.
No, I've never.
I wasn't. No.
I've never been into food challenges, or I don't know. There was like a 72-ounce steak in Amarillo, Texas that I was tempted to go after because I love steak, and I was driving truck, and I drove truck for like years, and I drove through Amarillo all the time. And there's this one place that's what they have on you see the billboards for 300-400 miles.
Yeah.
Like get the 72-ounce steak, and I don't even know how many.
I always find it funny because the first 2 or 3, you're like, "Man, that's nuts. Like, who would eat that much?" And by like 6 or 7, you're like, "Man, I think I might give that a shot."
Yeah. I never really had a layover though in Amarillo. Like sometimes I spent the night there, but I was always in a hurry, or I had to just shut down, get a few hours of sleep and get going. But I always thought, you know, on one of these times I might go after that steak. That was the only one I was ever tempted on, but all the other big food challenges, I'm like, I just don't feel like getting sick and hurting myself.
Yeah. There's in Carbon, at the Carbon County Steakhouse, like I ate a 40-ounce tomahawk.
Oh, man.
I mean, that thing.
Yeah.
What is a tomahawk?
It's
got the big bone in it.
It's got the big
Oh,
bone.
okay. Because I'm thinking it looks like an axe, you know.
No,
It does. It's got a big bone and it's got a huge piece of meat coming off the top of it.
Of Fred Flintstone.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And she brought it out on the plate. I'm like, is this even legal? I mean, it is unbelievable.
Was it a
Are
dinner
they still
plate?
doing that?
Yeah, they still do it, but it's not like, get it for free. It's
No.
Yeah, but they got a 40-ounce tomahawk up
A
there.
40-ounce tomahawk must run $150 with today's prices.
Yeah.
Oh,
There's a lot.
I'd go do it just to take the picture, though.
Oh, I got the picture and I ate it, but
Did you eat all of it?
yeah,
'Cause
but
there's a lot at stake.
Truthfully, yeah, exactly. I did share with my wife, but it was amazing. It was a good
Wow.
steak. I love steak.
Now
too.
I'm going to bring that up with April. We might have to go try that.
Oh, no, you got it.
Where's that at?
The Carbon County
in
Steakhouse.
Red Lodge?
In Red Lodge.
In Red Lodge. I'll have to try. I don't think I'll do the.
I'm a total steak guy. Hey, so what?
Me
so
too.
like, there's only a few places like I think's like the best, steakhouses, and that's definitely one of them. But Edgar Bar is like
Edgar Bar is good.
I love Edgar Bar. I like going.
I've
to there.
never tried. I've driven by it lots of times, and there are always people there.
Oh, yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
And people talk about it, but you almost have to schedule your time, right?
Yeah.
You
No.
do.
The Edgar Bar.
Yeah, it's crazy when you go in there because you wouldn't think like I remember when my wife took me there and I'm thinking what is going on here? Like I was just thinking like
Yeah, you're right by the railroad tracks.
kind of like a dive place. I thought.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like, truthfully, you go in there and it's like eating like 5-star, like just
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah. So,
Really good food.
killer food actually. Yeah. Love it. You gotta try it.
And it's you're not
Their
the first one
ribeye-
that said that.
Their ribeye steaks they're bomb.
We actually have a good place. If have you done the place out in Absarki? I think it's called. I'm feeling horrible right now. I don't want to say the wrong name. I've eaten there several times. Let me just double check it. This place, I mean, honestly, they got the best
In
food
Absarki?
in Absarki.
Right across from
Go past Absarki, like you're going to go up to Nye.
Right.
So you're going past Rock and J?
No, right at the corner of Rock and J, right across the street. I'm going to give them
But
a
I thought
plug.
that place closed because they're constantly changing owners
No, this place has been
for a couple of years.
No, I remember what it is. It's the Wildflower Kitchen. The Wildflower Kitchen. They say they're in Fishtail on their Facebook here, but yeah. So they got at least on Facebook they've got a 5-star rating with like 309 check-ins, or I'm not sure how many reviews. Anyway, if you get a chance, that's worth a drive. Like going to the Wildflower Kitchen.
Are they open for lunch too?
I'm not sure. Sometimes I have been there when they're shutting down to do a wedding. So it's an interesting thing. They bought the old Legends Saloon that was there.
That's what it was before.
And they've actually got this. These guys do excellent food. I believe they're from South Africa, and I want to say I'm not sure if they're related. They all have the same accent, and I'm not sure what the family dynamic is there. Okay,
But they're African?
No, they're just from South Africa. They're white guys. They're just
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so they are like just super good cooks. Anyway, they run a real good place. They put out some excellent food. The thing is too is like they also have there's like a gift store next door, and I want to say that's run by somebody in the family, like somebody else, and it's all like high-end nice stuff. And I think they're starting to bring in music out there, and they've got this nice little setup out there, atmosphere, and they're putting out really top-notch food, like best. I mean, honestly, it's one of the great places around here.
Yeah.
So the Wildflower Kitchen, try that one.
I'll have to try that one.
You're gonna have to text it to me. So
I will. I'll
I
share
don't
it
wanna
with you.
forget it, 'cause-
And they're super nice people. April and I, we like to go out there. Whenever we go, like we find some good spot to sit there and take pictures of our food, because all the food comes out just ready. Like it is amazing. And we sit there, and people are probably looking at us kind of weird because we're like trying to get good lighting, and we're moving things around, and we're setting things up for backdrop, and we're like, our food's getting cold, and we're over there like photographing everything. and posting it. We like to share those places on our, on our page. Like if we find someplace good to eat, I'm all about, let's take some good photos of that and post that and share that. Like,
I'm just envisioning you in the back of your car bringing out these pictures with a little table set up and.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
You know what? That reminds me. I need to get with those guys. We'll have them here on the podcast. They're just super, super nice, and we'll get them in here. I went in there one time and we were talking, and they were like, "I can't even do the accent right now, but I would if I could remember how to do it." But
If they were talking, you could do it.
Yeah, I could totally sound like them. That South African accent.
I think you're still African, even if you're not black, right?
Yeah. But I figured you were thinking...
No, I was thinking that, but...
Yeah, no. So it's like, no, I could do the accent, how they talk if I could hear them right now. But anyway, they came out and when they were like, "Oh, you guys do the breakfast burritos," and they're like, yeah. And they, the cook, the main guy, the chef there, he can't remember his name right now offhand. He started just sending us out these dishes. These were things not on the menu. And April and I are sitting there, and like, all of a sudden our server is coming out saying, "Hey, the chef would like you to try this." And we were like, "Geez, thank you." And there was this rhubarb creme brulee that he sent out to us. It's not even on the menu. Like, and he sends out this rhubarb fresh creme brulee that he's working on back there.
I bet that was good.
Oh, it was amazing. He sent out like 2-3 things. And just because he knows, hey, we're local foodies too, and whatever. And it was just super good to us. And anyway, really good people. They put out really top-notch food. I have no hesitation about that place.
That's good.
Yeah, I love talking food.
It's funny because sharing, helping people, when they do good stuff, that's how you get word of mouth is everything here. And that's one thing I love about Montana and around here. Like, you don't have to advertise too much. I'm just saying your work is everything. You know what I mean? And you do beautiful work like that. Look, he did that to you, and now you're sharing about that today, and you're talking about it out of the blue. And
that's right.
And he's gonna be like, "God, I heard you on a podcast, and I heard your food's great," and it is.
Yeah, he wasn't asking for anything in return, but
no, exactly.
Because of the product that he puts out, and because of just who they are, like, you want to share what they have,
right?
And I think that's awesome too.
That's why I love your guys' burritos so much. I tell everybody, you know what I mean? I love them. And so it's all word of mouth,
Yeah, well, thank you, man.
I do too. I tell them, hey, if you're ever going through Columbus, you got to have one of those burritos.
Yeah.
You got to get there early, though.
Yeah, they're going to come out with this new Destroyer burrito. It's going to be amazing.
I forget what's going to be.
I love it. He keeps putting the plug
He's
in.
the best promoter ever.
He is.
I love watching. See, when I was watching a lot of your older YouTube videos too, like there's little clips of you. Whenever they're interviewing him, he stops and he plugs his sponsors constantly.
Yeah.
Like he throws them in there, and I was like, this guy has this figured out. I watched other arm wrestlers, and I'm like, nobody's like him. Nobody, like, he's dialed in on this.
So
like, he knows what he's
question,
doing.
Chuck. What was it that made you feel? I mean, like they do the George Foreman thing, where in college they always talked about George Foreman when he was beat by Ali. He was just about boxing,
right?
And then he went on, had 10 kids, named them all George, which is crazy, and all those boys, right?
Right.
And then came back broke, and realized that it's about name recognition.
Right.
And promoting, and now look, he's got the George Foreman grill and the George Foreman. I
don't know. It's hard to explain. It's just like the type of person the way I am. You know what I mean? So I can't. I wanted to promote myself, and I just started doing it. And getting sponsors, and it was just, I don't know how to explain it, but I just started it. You know what I mean?
It's just him stock.
Yeah. Totally stock out of the gate.
I know. For some people, it'd be really unnatural.
Yeah, that'd be hard.
You could just see that when you're watching these videos. It comes really natural with you.
I got to tell you a funny story. So listen, so my buddy Roger, he got the monster truck, the Destroyer, right? And I go, listen, I got an awesome idea. You know what? We need to get an ethanol fuel sponsor, VP, VP ethanol fuel. And I found the guy is going to be downtown Seattle, and I want to bring the truck. And he's like, what? And I'm like, hey, I want to tire down, that means the tire's off the truck, and take the semi truck. And I go, I want to go there. This guy's name's Brian. He's like the main guy for VP, and he's doing a tour there at this fuel plant. And he's like, what? I go, yeah. I go, dude, we're gonna go down there. I'm gonna bring the truck, and we're gonna get this fuel spot. I need you to just do this with me. And Roger just thought I was crazy, you know. And he's like, are you serious? I'm like, I'm not kidding. We're going down there. I ended up calling him, right, this Conoco, this fuel place, and I found out that Brian for VP was going to be there. And I ended up calling him. I'm like, listen, I go, yeah, this is not a prank. Don't hang up. I said, but right now, in about 10 minutes, I need you to bring everyone outside, and I have a surprise for you guys. And the lady was just freaking out, tripping out. I go, listen, this is serious, and I'm not kidding. You're going to hear me coming. And
they're like, we have a bomb threat.
This guy's freaking loony.
And I thought about that too. You know what I mean? But anyway, my buddy Roger's out back, and I'm telling him, I'm like, tire the truck up, and we're going to bring it right through the parking lot and everything. And he's like, Chuck, and I'm like, don't hit a car, Roger, but I want you to tear it up in there. You know what I mean? And luckily, it was
don't hit a car.
And it was so close.
Can you imagine telling somebody that? Don't hit
with
the
a
car.
Monster truck downtown Seattle.
And that's exactly what we did. Anyway, they end up all coming out, and I got Roger to start it up. And long story short, he's coming flying through the parking lot with the monster truck, the destroyer, just going all over the place and just tearing up. And there's like 60 people out in front of this building. They're like, can't believe this is happening. You know what I mean? So we end up talking to them, and they were all taking pictures and doing everything. And then Brian, that for VP was there, right? And I'm like getting him in the truck and taking pictures with him. And this guy I hit him from left field. He had no idea what was happening, right? And next thing you know, we're taking pictures together and doing everything. And my buddy Roger is like, God, if there's any way we could get a discount in fuel, this was what he was telling me. You know what I mean? Telling me if I could get it, I go, just don't say nothing. Okay, don't say nothing. Let me handle everything, you know? And I go, eventually they're going to ask me how much fuel a monster truck will use. And when that case is, I don't want you saying nothing. So we're all doing this tour, walking together, and Roger's blown away that I'm doing all this, right? And this guy turns around, looks at me, he goes, well, so what do you think? I said, I go, we want a sponsorship with you guys, you know what I mean? And we put one of the stickers of the Conoco stickers on the side of the monster truck, you know what I mean? Tried to put them together, but it was funny. He goes, God, I never thought about that. And I go, yeah. I go, listen, you got to sponsor us. And we got races all over, and you know we're gonna be taking the monster truck to Vegas and blah blah blah. And he's like, well, what do you think? And I said, hey, the fuel sponsorship would be amazing. He's like, well, how much fuel does a monster truck use? And there's Roger, and I turned and looked at him. I'm like, oh, how much does it use, huh? Well, anyway, It ended up working out so killer. The guy was blown away, and I got a VP ethanol fuel sponsor for 2 years straight, and got all our fuel on our semi trucks, everything all paid for with the card and everything. And it was amazing. We promoted that company like no other. And the guy gave me a fuel card. I mean, like full blown for our truck and for the monster
that
truck.
You can use. Yeah.
We got all our non-ethanol VP fuel from him in 55-gallon barrels, and
wow,
it was pretty epic. And that's right when everything started with me, you know, and we were in.
You started to see like this. Yeah, there's the power of this.
Yes, exactly. And I'm in Las Vegas. We're at the Monster Jam, you know, and we're in a parade. I'm on the truck. We're doing all this. I had my concrete company. I had the whole back end of the tailgate of my company on that. I mean, a sticker for someone is just amazing how much money people pay because they write it all off. You know what I mean? And I had the whole back end tailgate of my, you know, of course it didn't get me any business in Las Vegas, you know what I mean?
Right.
But I thought it was the coolest thing.
It is, I mean? Yeah.
It is pretty cool, yeah.
Yeah, so that's how I was doing all the sponsorship and, you know, promoting myself crazy about the Destroyer and everything like that.
But the thing is, you don't know who watched that in the Vegas that worked at where, you know what I mean?
Totally.
That was where you were at. You don't know how that connects.
Yeah, and it's crazy. Everything, you know, it's a small world.
And it's a learning process once you start to figure out those stickers and what is value.
Oh, yeah.
Like that's the process of like, what is that kind of real estate on a tailgate worth? What type of exposure or what type of attention does that bring? Anyway, it's learning the process. Who knows? Like you said, but you started to learn the power of branding.
Well, you know, adding to that, because this is kind of how Milo and I started, because Milo had sponsored. Basically, you put a big old Madison River sticker on the trailer cow, right?
That was my
And Colton's
so who sponsored who? Did I sponsor you or did you sponsor us? I don't know.
All I know is I kind of came into it, and the guy that was the owner's son, he's like, hey, we always just give him a discount because he put a big old freaking Madison sticker sign on his thing, you know? And so that's kind of how we started, like, the relationship. You know?
That's
you're
right.
like, I'm supposed to get a discount, Cody, and so we started talking, and I'm like, hey, I want to grow this store out of Columbus. And so we started talking about Facebook.
Yeah.
And anyway, so I was trying to like get, but you're trying to get people that's from another generation,
right,
to get on board with getting online, you know, and their whole mindset was like, dude, they don't even understand it, you know. Plus, you know, how much is it really in your area? But when we did, and it was little steps, like a little bit at a time. Anyway, long story short, over the course of like, we were doing the numbers just last month, and in the course of the last year and a half, and really this has been about 2 years, but we've talked about it for months before we ever really got it on Facebook, and then it's never what I want. It's still not what I really want, but we've doubled the customer base from now. Is that just because of, you know, our conversation with Facebook? I mean, that's hard to say because we have done some advertisement with the newspaper and stuff a little bit, but I think it
well, back then,
huge.
Yeah. And back then it was frustrating for me because, see, Colton, he used to come and eat at the trailer all the time, and he wanted discounts. That was what happened. And he was just like,
I could totally see that.
And he was just like, hey, buddy. And he was just like, and I'm like, perfect. And he's like, he said something. I said, how about I get a discount on, I said, I'll tell you what. I said, yeah, I'll give you a break on whatever. But that's when I brought it up, and I was like, how about I get a break on some propane? And he was like, and I was like, I'll tell you what. I said, do you got like, we started talking about it. I was like, you got a big sign, you got a something? Like, we'll promote that we use your propane. And he was just like, I'm going to come back. I'm going to talk to you about that later. And I was like, okay, perfect. So he's like, hey, we have these big decals. I was like, he wanted it like over the window. Like you had to like lift the decal up to put your order in. Like, and I was like, we're going to put it on the side of the trailer right over here. You know, like he wanted it right there, you know? Anyway, so we worked out a little agreement there, and that's how that started. But what happened was I started to make videos, and then in my videos, I started to say, hey, what's the secret behind these breakfast burritos or why they taste so good? Because it's that top shelf blend from Madison River Propane.
Nice. I love it.
And I'm like,
because they're all the same too, by the way.
Right.
Yeah, and I'm like, that's the secret. That's why these burritos taste so good. It's that top shelf. When you go over to Madison River Propane, tell them you want the stuff off the top shelf, the BFL breakfast burrito stuff. And I started putting those out there, and I started to try and tag Madison River Propane. I wanted them to see that, hey, like,
great,
you know, but they didn't have a Facebook page. So there's these tags that are starting to accumulate. And what happens is Facebook, once you do a tag, they create a Facebook page. Somebody has to claim it now, but they will create a Facebook page for that business.
Yeah, and that's what you were showing. You're like, hey, they've already created you one.
Yeah, you got to just go in there. You got to claim it. You got to set it up. You got to whatever. Where I'm already trying to tag you guys, and because they weren't doing anything with it. So anyway, that's how our long relationship kind of started. We kind of talked.
But I'll tell you what, I think it's huge. So just what you're talking about is because it was so it got to a point where there's seven locations, 4 of which are Madison River. The other ones are different companies, and they were like, Cody, stop! Like we can't even take on. When it came to promoting it, they were like, Cody, you can promote if you want, but we don't want anything coming our way.
Right.
And so what it just kind of grew into this, like, I think that there's something. That's what started this whole conversation. We would start talking, and we're like, hey, and then he was like, hey, I was thinking about doing a podcast. And next thing you know, 2 hours later, you're like, dude, we got to go. Like, I got to go to work, and you got to do your thing.
And that's kind of like, honestly, when Cody came on board, too, I was like, oh, great, there's a new guy at Madison River Propane. I was like, oh, man. And I was like, I wonder if I'm wondering if our deal here is going to end, you know? And
that's perfect.
Yeah, so it turned out to be a great friendship and relationship and all that kind of stuff. And then eventually, but honestly, because of just Cody who he is, like this wasn't a part of the deal, but because of them, their customer service that they give us and all that kind of stuff, right? Like they give me out, like they've really helped me out in a lot of things. Right? But that's why now I have a huge tank where I went to them and I'm like, hey man, can I put cow print on my tank? How many gallons is that tank, that first tank?
500.
That's a 500 gallon tank.
Yeah.
So I had a whole bunch of black vinyl that I did the truck with. And so I cut out cow print and I put it all over that tank. So now there's the food trailer. There's this big, huge white tank. And he was like, hey, I think we put it said Madison River or something. We put another thing
Sticker
on there.
on it,
and anyway, so when you pull up now,
yeah,
it's all there together. And
you got to promote like that. I love seeing it. Just even seeing the food truck when it's all logoed up.
It's cool.
Branding is just amazing. You got to do it. Yeah, I love it. I'm the same way. I got all my trucks. I got everything branded that way.
So you also have a spray foam installation, right?
Yeah, we own a spray foam installation company and a concrete company. So I got 2 companies.
I did spray foam in my house several years ago. When it was 2012, I did the whole house, and I ended up doing it myself. And
did you?
Yeah, I was a mess.
With those
the tanks.
Oh.
I ordered the 2 tanks, and I ordered it from some company in Washington, and they sent out I went through, and I had like all the Tyvek on, and I had I had spray everywhere. It's like glue. It's glue.
Well, it grows, and then it grows, right? I mean, it just keeps.
Oh man, yeah. I did the all of my exterior walls in this huge house, and I did all of that myself. And I wish I'd have known you back then because.
Well, I just started it, but the product is so great. I mean, that's how it started with me even doing it, because we were over at a family event, and I'm sitting in front of this swamp cooler and got the fan right on me, and it's like 100 degrees. And I'm like, he goes, yeah. He goes, good, come out and check out my shop. We just got it spray foamed. I'm like, I didn't even know what he was talking about. I go, spray foam? I go, what's that? He goes, oh, check it out. You got to believe it. We walk in the shop, and it's 65 degrees in there, and I'm like, I go, you got the air conditioning on? He's like, no, it's the spray foam. I'm like, yeah, right. I go, you got AC on in here? And he's like, no, it's the spray foam. And I'm like, oh my God, I got to do this to our shop. And so I was calling everybody to see get bids, and I had all these companies come out, Billings Insulation, all of them come out and give me bids, and I'm like, God, that's expensive.
Yeah, that's why I was
like freaking out. I was like, God, that much? And I'm like, you know what? I'll just find out what a machine would cost. I'll just do it myself. You know what I mean? And then I start researching, and I've got, I started going extreme, and then I ended up buying the best of everything, and we ended up starting a company, and here we are. You know what I mean?
So what are your company's names?
So we have Spray Pros Installation, and we have Artistic Decorative Concrete. So artistic is
I'm all over both of those.
I know I love the artistic decoration of concrete.
Decorative, yeah, artistic decorative concrete.
Yeah, I think that stuff looks cool.
Yeah.
So in about 2005,
right.
I discovered I don't even know where I found it, but that's when I first came across concrete countertops.
Oh yeah.
And I got way into it, and I started back then. There was I can't remember where I found it. Was just online. It wasn't I don't think it was on YouTube, but it was some guy online who was putting some videos out, and he was selling some kits, some coloring, and some stuff. Right. And I started to get way into that, and I ended up buying a really nice water grinder, polisher, whatever, with all of these diamond pads for it, and I bought this whole system. And I started because I was trying to figure out how to do concrete countertops. And I was going to redo mine in my house there. I just had Formica countertops in there, and I was going to be like, I'm going to do all these. But to practice, I'm going to start making little tables. So then I bought a welder, and I'm like, I'm going to learn how to weld. And I started to build little metal frames to support these concrete slabs. And I set up a thing in my garage. This is when I lived down in Nevada. And I set it all up, and I had plastic draped everywhere because that water, you'd hook up a hose to it, and you're polishing this concrete countertop, and it would flip water everywhere. So I had plastic everywhere, and I had it all set up. I built a huge table to build forms on top of, and I got way into it. And
Did you get good?
I got pretty decent. I started to make them as gifts. I was doing these little tables and
pretty cool.
Doing end tables and adding different color to it, and some jade stones that I was putting down spray adhesive, and I'd put the little bits of jade all through it and create a pattern on there, and then flip the mold over,
Sweet.
polish it down to reveal the jade with like a reddish concrete countertop. It reveals all the aggregates. And anyway, so when I moved up here to Montana, I had this dream of like, I wanted to build a big, huge shop. It never happened, but I wanted to do that, build a big shop and get into making custom concrete countertops. And I just never got it done. But it was one of those things I was super into for a while, and I was really interested. I ended up doing my concrete countertops at my house out there that I built. They're terrible.
Great promotion
Like
for
they're
yourself.
they're terrible.
They're terrible. Yeah, like I was really into it, but I sucked.
No, they look good for my house. Like my house is super rustic.
Right.
And I did leave them rustic, but there were some things I did wrong. And to the untrained eye, people come in and they all love them. They're all like, this is awesome. But I'm like, I'm beating myself up over this job because it was like, it was a big job, and I poured them in place, and the whole thing, it was super stressful. One thing I didn't do was I wanted it to look like a good 2.5, 3-inch slab or something. So I built them out when I framed them, to look bigger on the outside. Anyway, I didn't leave that thick enough. And so over time, that lip cracked, and I lost some of that. I'm going to have to retrim that out. The surface, I need to reseal it. I need to do everything else. And it didn't come out exactly how I was planned. It does go for my house. It's just a slate gray, and it looks rustic for my house. My house, there's no drywall in my house. Everything is either rough cut fir planks with chinking, like big planks that I did with chinking. Kind of gives it a feel of like timber. And the ceilings are all corrugated metal. And I've got, I have a lot of like, just like rusted metal that I actually got off of a barn out in, I can't remember the name of it, Sarpy Creek, up on the other side of Hardin, a guy who's, he had a calving shed that actually collapsed that was probably 80 years old. And I got all this rusted corrugated metal in there. And anyway, so there's different accents in the house like that. So these charcoaly gray, slate gray countertops, they go with the house. Yeah. But it was a hack job, man. I did such a hack job. So I'm glad I didn't go into business. But anyway, that was my big dream. So when you were talking concrete and decorative concrete, I was just like,
So funny. It's
Reminds
like
you
crazy.
when.
Go ahead.
No, go.
No, it's just funny how you think you're gonna do something, and but hey, at least you were swinging at it and you tried. That's awesome.
Yeah, I get on kicks and I go all in on it. Like I don't know. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. I'm not afraid though to be like, this was a bad idea. I spent a lot of time and money on this. This was a big mistake, and whatever. You do that in business. Yeah. It's the ones who can't admit that. It's the ones who I feel, not that I'm in any level of success other than I've made it past all the first bars of like, hey, you only have, most people fall off of business in this amount of years. And if then another big, huge percentage, I've made it through past some of those hurdles. But I just feel like that that's the thing is people, they're too afraid to recognize that, hey, this was a mistake, cut our losses, let's go in a different direction, and how important that is, and be okay with that. Yeah. Like they're too afraid to like try anything new. So try something new, and if it fails, it's whatever, you failed. Move on.
I think it's an entrepreneur. Being an entrepreneur is that mindset of never giving up. People that have their own companies, and it's just unlimited hours. You're doing so much into building your company and doing so much. People don't realize how much time you're putting into it, and failures. That's what makes you a winner. You know what I mean? It's You learn through mistakes.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you grow from them.
Yeah,
it makes you stronger.
Yeah, I mean, how many hours do you figure you put in a week?
Oh my gosh, it's. I don't know. I wouldn't even want to even say. I mean, it's. I say 80 to 100 hours a week. It's just it's unfathomable. You know what I mean? You got so much going on. 2 companies. Oh,
I can't imagine.
5 kids. I got a whole deal. Little mini farm. We're going like full throttle 7 days a week.
Yeah. So. It's a tremendous amount of work.
Where do you live at?
In Laurel. down South Park City Road out
Oh,
there.
that's right. You're saying that on that side.
We got 20 acres right there, so
That's
nice
awesome.
little mini farm, you know.
Yeah.
Chickens, we got it all, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, I did that too. I went through
been there,
that.
yeah.
I had chickens, I had goats, I had horses out there. I went through all that. But anyway, once I went all in on this food trailer, it was like I didn't have time. I'm horrible with my time and time management and organization. Like that's the biggest thing that holds me back is like just being organized and being able to execute. Like I have great ideas, but like to get it all, or at least I think they're great, but
Right.
all of a sudden I get in there. But the difference between getting it done and not getting done is just that. It's execution. It's being organized and execution. And I'm terrible at organization.
Yeah, it's being just totally unmanageable. When you got so much on your plate and you think you can just handle it, you know, you're swinging so hard in every direction just to try to get to the goal, you know, to get to that. But I agree.
Wow. Well, hey, Chuck, I appreciate you coming out here early this morning. This is early on a Monday morning before we all go to work. And it's been just really great getting to know you and finally having this conversation. I'm looking forward to many more of these conversations. And I'm going to work on that destroyer. We'll see what...
Oh, it's happening. Then it's going to be spicy, hot. It's going to be huge and delicious.
Yeah.
Yummy.
Yummy.
I'm probably going to advertise it as ruin your day hot. Like, this is ruin your day hot. This isn't going to hit you tomorrow. It's going to hit you right now.
Well, I think it should be like for everybody out there that's into spicy hot food, you got to try this. Hey, you think you got?
I would agree with him. I go Chuck.
Go
Try it for like, hey, if you like hot, try this.
Hey,
like it's gonna wake you up.
Yeah, you got to get positive.
But people like to be challenged.
Well, that's the challenge.
I'm challenged with
the destroyer.
positivity. I'm with Chuck.
Yeah, go positive. I'm being real with you. You sit there and tell them already they're gonna have issues.
Yeah, like because you're already setting their mind.
Yeah, you got the wrong mindset. We got to sit there and change that up to, hey, who out there really eats hot food, spicy food?
Come tell us.
This is the real. This is challenges for you. Believe that.
All right. Well, we're going to figure that out this week. We'll get that.
It's happening.
Chuck, thanks for coming. I totally enjoyed it. It's been a lot of fun.
Hey, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
All right, guys. We'll do this another time for sure, right?
Yep.
All right. Hey, thanks. We'll see you.
Hey, that was great.